There are many different ways that you can edit your content. Editing is storytelling, so it's incredibly personal. And it's important that you find your own editing style, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your audience doesn't have certain expectations when watching content. B-roll is something I both love and also can sometimes be the bane of my existence. So let's talk about if you should add B-roll to your videos, and if you do, what's the best way to do it? There are many different types of B-roll, so let's start by talking about some of your different options. The first type is stock footage. Now, stock footage is basically something somebody else shot and they're giving you access to use it in your videos. There's a ton of different websites where you can have a subscription or you can buy just a specific piece. But the thing I want you to keep in mind about stock footage is it looks like stock footage. It's not my favorite thing to use because I think it can often be a little bit cheesy, but we'll come back to that. The next type of B-roll is going to be something that you shoot yourself. Now, it's either B-roll that you plan to shoot before you ever started filming. So you're like, I'm going to get, this A-roll, this voiceover, and then these are the shots that I want to get that's going to cover that footage. The other option is maybe as you're editing your video, you're like, this is a lot of talking head. I want to throw to something. Oh, I'm talking about something I did in the past. It was really cool. I want to show it as I'm talking about it. And the last type we'll talk about is a screen recording. So this will be something that, maybe I'm talking to the camera for a little while and then I'm going to cut to my screen where I'm going to show you what I'm actually doing and the steps I'm taking as I'm editing. This could also be something like, let's say that you're talking about an article that you saw and you put the article over the screen so that they can actually read it for themselves as you're talking about it. I've used all different types of B-roll in videos that I've created throughout the years. And I would say the best type of B-roll is planned B-roll. Like I said, I don't love stock footage. I do pretty much everything I can to avoid using it. I found a lot of issues with using it. I think it can come across as a little bit cheesy. Sometimes, let's say, a client is like, can you put a bunch of B-roll in here? Like, I've got this stock footage I want you to pull from, and trying to find the right clip to match what they're saying. Sometimes you have to stretch it a little bit and then you're like, it just doesn't really fit, or you can find, you're trying to cover 5 different things and you can only really find footage that covers 3 of them. And then you have this weird, like, how do I cover the other ones without it looking strange? It's just something I don't really enjoy using. I don't like the way that it comes out in the edit, and it's a pain. You often have to go digging for what you're looking for, and it never really looks as good as maybe what you've envisioned in your mind anyway. If you're planning on using B-roll, I would highly suggest that you pre-plan what you're going to shoot and then go and film that. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you might be rolling your eyes at this point because I love to talk about planning and prep. That's I think one of the most crucial parts of any project is planning. I know a lot of other people that are more like fly by the seat of their pants, film what they get, and then figure it out in the edit. As somebody who's mainly an editor, I don't love editing that way. I've done it a million different times. I've had plenty of projects where people just dump footage and say, here you go, make something beautiful. And I've managed to do that, but it's not my favorite way to edit. I like to very much start the edit in pre-production. Even if it's going to be something where you're like, hey, I've already shot this footage and I know I want to throw to it at some point in the video, I would suggest that you pre-grab that footage before you ever start filming. I've had times where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I shot this thing, and I'll be able to find it and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to show you this cool thing. And then I'm like, I can't find it, or it's not how I remembered it in my head, and then it doesn't really line up with what I talked about. It also makes the editing process more of a pain if you have to go back, and find footage as you're doing the edit. You want to just be able to sit down, have all of your pieces, and then put them together, in my opinion. In this video, for example, I have some ideas of some things that I want to show. It's stuff that I already shot, already have, but I grabbed those clips before I ever started filming so that I know exactly what's going to go where as I'm talking about it. I never really like to do anything willy-nilly once I sit down to edit. I like to have everything pre-planned, but you also have to keep in mind I'm turning over hundreds of videos a month. And so in order to do that, I have to follow these processes. Maybe that doesn't work for you, but it's just something that I would keep in mind as you're thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do it. Lastly, I would say just use your best judgment. If you absolutely need to use B-roll to cover something and stock footage is all you have, then that's okay. You know, it's sometimes better than nothing. Just figure out what works best for you. It's kind of going to be a pre-project thing. I do know some editors that love stock footage. They love going and finding shots to add in afterwards and, you know, funny things, funny clips or something like that. But that's just not really how I like to work. I would love to see what our viewers are creating, what kind of content they're creating. So if you have any links to what you're working on, I would love for you to put them in the comment section below. Create a really amazing community of editors that are watching our videos, and we can all work together to improve and make better content. We are your video allies. You've got this, we've got your back, and we can't wait to see what kind of content you create.